Hello, and welcome to a very special LAFC Pod Family episode, the MLS Cup Final Preview Edition. I am Darren Miller. If you're new here, I host Happy Foot Sad Foot podcast along with Travis Helwig and Vince LaRosa, and we are honored to open our doors tonight to some very special guests, many of the black and gold faithful faces and voices you know and love as we get ready for LAFC's second trip to the MLS Cup Finals. But I will be the first to admit that a party of this magnitude requires a far more capable host. So I'd like to welcome a longtime friend of the foot, a man who on his own podcast describes himself as being as gay as they get, Luke Klipp.
That's right, Darren. Thanks for that introduction. It's very exciting to be here with everyone. Hello, LA. It's great to be able to celebrate tonight with our black and gold family and to revel in the community that is LAFC, the 3252, and all those of you casuals, fanaticos, devotees, and otherwise for whom your cathedral is right in the heart of LA at BMO Stadium. My name's Luke. I am the co-host of LGBTFC, which brings you the stories of LGBTQ plus folks in the beautiful game, with many of those coming from right here in Los Angeles, where my co-host and I have found our love and our home, LAFC. Tonight, for you, we have assembled an incredible group of LAFC podcast family, from the originals to the newbies and everything in between. These are the people you commiserate with after a tough loss, and the folks you love to hear when our boys grind out a big win. And today, we've come together, Voltron style. For those of you old enough to know Voltron, you're welcome, to go over what is one of LAFC's biggest matches in their history, offering them the chance to get 2 stars above the crest just 6 years since Diego Rossi first scored at Lumen Field to give us our very first win. So, without any further ado, let's introduce all our family assembled here tonight. First up, from the original podcast en español del campeón de la MLS, Dale Black and Gold, it's Pablo Morales.
Hello,
Hola,
everybody.
Pablo.
Hi. Hello. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for make this possible. I believe the last time we did a SUPERPOD. Well, actually, we have another one, but I couldn't do it. But last time I was in the SUPERPOD was before the pandemic. So actually, everybody said that we're gonna get it together live. Everybody, we're gonna get in a bar, or I don't know, somehow we're gonna make a big party, but we never did. But here we are to prepare for. I think it's the biggest match of the year, and hopefully everything it's gonna be good, and we're gonna get the second star.
Next time we'll have to do this in a bar, Pablo, for you. Well, next up, you know him as one half of the Defenders of the Bank and of the voice of the Empire Strikers. It's Christian Philemon.
Hello, Los Angeles. Hello, lovers of LAFC. Hello, lovers of Major League Soccer. Hello to the millions
And
millions of LAFC Pod Fam listeners. Fellas, thank you so much for doing this and doing all the work, because it's a lot less effort for me and Scarf to do. I am so pumped for this weekend. The black and gold are getting ready to make the black and yellow black and blue. So pumped to be here. Again, Defenders of the Bank is a tandem podcast. Scarf so graciously bowed out and let me jump on, but we come in pairs, hence why me and Hello Kitty are on your pod.
amazing. And thank you so much for bringing the energy and the drinks to the show. Next, all the way from Japan. Yes, you heard that right. It's the master of tea and the spoken and written word from FCFC Pod. It's Alex Dweezy Dwyer.
I'm just over here glad that Columbus Crew are going to become Inter Milan, thanks to Philly's color swap there. So stoked about that. Konnichiwa from Kamakura. It's already Wednesday. I'm hanging out with my people on Tuesday night. Big game. Can't wait. Thanks for hosting.
Excellent. Thanks so much for being here with us tonight. Next, from the same time zone as the MLS Cup Final, for those of us here in LA, that's the Eastern time zone. From LAFC Season Pass, it's Ryan Wally Wallerson.
Yo. What's up, family? Looking forward to commiserating with y'all, talking about this MLS Cup, the back-to-back potential. I think I agree. based on the results of games earlier this year, this is the biggest game of the year. And, I think that we can wipe away all of the bad of 2023 if we end it with that second star. So let's get it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Our next guest with us has a voice made for radio from Shoulder to Shoulder. Darren, can you confirm he's still with us? I think he may have gotten pushed out. Is he still with us?
Ooh, I don't know. Looks like we're still waiting for him to jump back in. Actually.
Okay. Well, we'll welcome him back.
We'll come back to him.
Can. If you could help out with that, Darren, that'd be great. But in the meantime, last but certainly not least, coming to us from Voices of the Black and Gold, it's the incomparable Eric Holstrom. Eric.
Hey, I'm just glad I'm not the one with technical difficulties right now. So what's up? Yeah, I'm super pumped for this game. There's my happy place on earth is LAFC matches, the tailgate with all of you all, or whether it's on the road with the traveling 3252. Man, I can't wait to do this.
Excellent. Well, look, it is great to be with all of you tonight. Thank you to our folks who are with us here from our LAFC Pod fam. And thank you to all of you watching us at home. Before we get into it, we encourage those of you who are watching us live, share your questions and comments in the chat. Let us know how you're feeling, what thoughts you have as we get set for a possible second star above that beautiful, beautiful crest. Later in the show, we'll have a few minutes to answer your questions. But first, we want to sort of lay the baseline here for everyone. This is when things get real. When we go from being excited for getting to this point to really letting this moment sink in. We've been through a lot this past year, and it has felt like, we were talking a little bit before the show, like more than just 1 year. It has felt like an eternity. So we're going to do a quick recap, as quick as possible, because 2023 has been very long. Anyone remember when our Rose Bowl season opener got postponed because of a snowstorm? Do we remember that, folks? That was 9 months ago.
Rainstorm.
I believe there was snow actually near the Rose Bowl, which that was back in February. We were supposed to kick off the season the end of February. We ended up starting a week late because of that postponement. And in the 9 months since we kicked off March 4th against the Timbers, LAFC have played 52 matches across all competitions, which is an MLS record. And those 52 matches included numerous competitions on top of the regular season. So I'm just going to quickly just recap this, because let's just get this out of the way, because when we came into the season, we were like, we could potentially get 6 trophies, right? First was Leagues Cup, where a late collapse for us in the quarterfinal versus Monterrey in the Rose Bowl saw us surrender a 2-goal lead and fall out 2-3. Then there was the U.S. Open Cup, where we put our JV squad, our LAFC 2 squad in there, and they defeated a chippy Monterrey FC team from California, only to lose in one of this year's 4 El Traficos, a game which will now go down in history, not for what happened during the game, but for what happened after, when our favorite center back, Giorgio Chiellini, called out Ricky Puig for being the payaso that he was. And then another one of these trophies, that single game Campeones Cup, where I think a lot of us were questioning, do we really care about this thing going into it? And somehow we ended up caring about it at some point in the game. And it looked like Denny Bouanga had won it for us. And then there was some weird call that pulled it back. And it ended in a scoreless draw where the Mexican side won on penalties. And finally, of course, CONCACAF Champions League, which we saw LAFC tear through one game after another. First beating Alajuelense from Costa Rica, then Vancouver Whitecaps, then Philadelphia Union, and then coming up against Leon in the final and crashing out in that one, and watching Leon lift the trophy on our home turf. Between Leon and Tigres, we had 2 teams lift trophies on our home pitch this year. And you know what, guys? I think it's time we celebrate our first ever away trophy this season. Just got to say that, just going to put that out there. We have yet to lift a trophy on someone else's pitch, and it is time that we got to do that. So before I get ahead of myself on that, and before we get into questions for folks in the group here, there's also the MLS regular season, where over the course of 34 games, we came in 3rd in the Western Conference behind St. Louis and Seattle. We started out on fire. We all remember we went undefeated for 10 matches, and then in the middle of the summer, it was like we couldn't find a way to win, winning only 3 out of 11 matches over 6 weeks, and then sort of stumbling into the last part of the season where there were a few games we didn't even think we could score a goal, only to then find our form again in the last few games of the season as we go into the playoffs. So that's how the black and gold did across a record-breaking 52 games. We should also just say a quick message here, or quick note here about how the black and yellow did from Ohio State Capitol. Turns out, guys, they didn't do so great either, especially by the high standards that we have set for ourselves here in Los Angeles. Columbus wasn't in the CONCACAF Champions League. And in the U.S. Open Cup, they lost to a USL team, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, in the same round where our LAFC 2 squad lost to Galaxy's first team. In the Leagues Cup, they were out in their first game after group play, losing to penalties to Minnesota United in the round of 32, several rounds before we were out. And all told, across all competitions, they've played 45 matches, 7 fewer than LAFC. That's 10 and a half fewer hours of playing that they've did over the last year than LAFC have done. So that's a lot to recap. I feel like I've been talking for a lot, so I'm going to shut up now. But it really doesn't do justice to what this past season has been like. And I just want to acknowledge just how much we've been through the last 9 months. So we'll get to audience questions in a few minutes. But first, we want to hear from our assembled pod fam, and whoever wants to jump in with this. First question here is there a moment from this past year that you're going to remember most, regardless of what happens on Saturday?
And we've got one more to intro back onto the stage.
Oh,
well.
we do. We have Jonathan back. Well, let's get to the question, but let's first bring Jonathan Reimer onto the show. The voice made for radio from Shoulder to Shoulder podcast, telling the stories of the LAFC family, one story at a time. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
My sincerest apologies. We're having some technical difficulties at Casa de Gringo at the moment, but very happy to be here with such an illustrious cast of characters. Mi familia. Pleasure to be with you.
Awesome. So I saw Christian put up his hand. So Christian, you want to take this question?
Who's Christian?
Sorry,
I don't know Christian.
Really.
It's so odd
Stage
hearing
name.
anybody.
He has a stage name.
Yeah, dude, it's so weird hearing anybody other than my wife call me Christian.
Okay, well.
So hey, it's all good. So they don't even call me Christian in my office. But that's fine. It's the name I was given in the year 1980. For me, it all starts with the very first game of the season when we saw our banner get displayed high and proud, and we saw Maxime Crépeau come out with Gareth Bale as well. That right there just solidified what was an emotional 2022 season. And that really set a nice tone for the rest of the year. We didn't really get a chance to see that banner high in the rafters of BMO Stadium, but that's another point. But just having been there, having gotten to see the banner go down, obviously we saw the supporter shield stuff. You see the banner with the Western Conference champions. You see the MLS Cup winners. You see the star on the kit. And that feels really darn good because at the end of the day, as much as we love sports, it's a results business. And what that result indicated was that not only were we the best in the West, but we came into the season the best in the West, defending champions. And the funny thing is, throughout the course of the season, many teams forgot that we were the defending champs because we did have some highs, some lows, some ebbs and some flows. But at the end of the day, we're gunning for 2 more of these. And this is my message to Columbus.
Well said. Yeah, go ahead, Eric. Eric, you're muted.
Yeah, first off, thank you so much for bringing up all of those soul-crushing defeats that we had throughout this season. I kind of hadn't thought about any of those for a while, and then they all got remembered. And I remember at Leon where I almost got in a fight with like 5 fans sitting around me before I just left early. I was like, let them celebrate. Peace, don't choose violence. And I always choose peace. That's the hippie in me. But my favorite point this season was the game we just had on Saturday. I thought from the tailgate at the beginning of the game, the energy was insane. Getting into the La Banque, the energy was completely insane. I think it was the most I've seen fans standing on their feet in a match for quite a long time. So, I mean, obviously the massive pyrotechnic show at the beginning, they got everybody crying. This was fantastic. And another example of how our supporters are pushing and dragging the rest of this league, kicking and screaming to show what supporters should be. And it all comes down to this next game. this next game is going to be whether or not we redeem this season, because for me, we have to get to the continental competition again. And if we fail to do this, is going to be soul crushing for me. But, we carry on. It's black and gold forever, but we really need this game. And so I really think they're going to do it, and let's do it.
Awesome. Anyone else want to answer this question on a favorite moment this season? Yeah, Dweezy.
What's up, y'all? Last time we did this, I was coming to you live from the bank. For 7 years, I lived walking distance from the bank. And to be now very much not walking distance, a whole day's distance, a whole ocean's difference away. My memories this year have been about how I've been able to stay a part of that community from afar. The community in LAFC has always been the most important thing to me. And I'll remember always being on a train from here in Kamakura to Tokyo, and myself, Sujin and Joyce, shout out to Sujin and Joyce, who came to visit, important members of the 3252 and TSG, and watching on all three of us, watching the game, to bring up another difficult loss, the game against Miami on our phones. And the good technology lords of Apple who've made all this possible. I know a lot of people are probably not so thrilled about maybe the way that we have to watch games now. But for me, I've been able to stay connected to the team. If we always wanted this to be global, it is now global. And special shout out to Q from District 9 Ultras, who I got to go to a game with, and Ipe, who I got to go to a game with out here in Japan. Only went to one game in LAFC this whole year after basically my life revolving around it. So just wanted to sort of be the voice for all those people who don't get to go to games regularly. I now know what it's like to be you, and you can still be part of the community and you can still enjoy it. So that is all.
So love that. And it's not just that you're not even here. It's the time zones and the days are completely different. The whole vibe is such a completely different vibe, but we're so glad you're able to stay connected with us. I wanted to sort of throw out there something that for me, it wasn't a game, but the Pride match, before the Pride match at the tailgate, two of our members of the Pride Republic, Max and Taylor, got married. And it was something where they had bonded over their love of this beautiful game as part of Pride Republic, and for them to get to celebrate in front of their chosen family. And they had their parents there as well, who a few of them look a little shell-shocked because they had never been to a tailgate before. But they were all in it because they saw their sons as happy as they'd ever seen them before in their entire lives. And to get to celebrate that with all of them was just so incredible. And I felt a little anger that Vancouver beat us that night, and was so grateful that we returned the favor and knocked them out of the playoffs, because they ruined that Pride evening for us, but that they couldn't take away the joy that we had that afternoon with Max and Taylor and getting to celebrate with them. Anyone else want to offer up a favorite moment from this year? Pablo, you look like you have something you want to say.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess it's favorite, but at the same time, it's kind of sad that moment when Bella was sub. I mean, it's, to me, it's I don't know. I cannot say it's favorite. Like I said, it's just one of the ones that stand the more, because I felt like during the whole game he want to score, and that makes me feel like he knows he's not coming back. I mean, it has all that. I know it's not set in stone that he's not gonna come, that he's leaving, but it felt that way, the way he fought that match, like he didn't in a long time. It was one of his best games, probably the best game of the season, and he was so involved, and we all stand up and start, it was very, very emotional, because I was the feeling that when he left the pitch, it's like it's the last player that was with us the very first game, when everything started in 2018. That's it. I mean, he's gone. This is a new era, and we can, start. And it was very, at the same time, I'm happy, because I know a lot of people don't like the idea of the championship of conference. I'm talking about football people, because, Americans love this conference stuff, but the rest of the world, we don't have conference champions. We have the champion. That's it, but there is a trophy involved. And the fact that he went in his last match in front of us, if it seems like with a trophy, in his hand, it just makes me happy. And I was like, okay, I have this in my heart that at least it's not like he went out in a worse defeat or something terrible, like getting eliminated by, and the playoff. No, he went and with a trophy, maybe not a goal that day, but with a trophy in his hand, and also probably Chiellini too, So it was a very emotional match that day because it was in front of us. But then we have the next game could be actually the last one, but that was a stand for me right now.
I just want to give a shout out to that one moment when we all got these, because that definitely stands out as a moment this year.
I would say my moment, my favorite moment is a little bit selfish. I left Los Angeles, moved back to the East Coast in mid-October. And so that made my final home game of the season the match on October 4th against Minnesota United. And if you remember that match, we went down on that Dotson goal in the 4th minute, 1-0 super early, and you were wondering what type of night it was going to be. I was personally wondering if I was going to see a LAFC victory in my last home match of the season, and for a while. And, you'll remember the Bouanga hat trick, the own goal. We won 5-1, and that was the match that I walked out of BMO Stadium kind of saying, if we just put together a stretch, no one can tell me we can't get back to MLS Cup. And here we are on this pod, in the days before. So it feels like a full circle moment. I love I've already bought my ticket. I've already put in my credential. I'm going to be in the building in Columbus. So I'm extremely excited for that. Thankful that that the team was able to turn the season around, and yeah, that is, they gave me a good send off as well. So
love that, Wally. Love that, and I would just note that I think a number of us are going to be in Columbus, and one of the challenges for us in just scheduling getting this together was different folks in their travel plans and try to figure stuff out, because it's not easy to get to Columbus. Turns out it's about as expensive from LA to get to Columbus as it is to get there from England, which is kind of ridiculous. But here we are. So,
man, I was rooting for the rematch so bad so I could hop on a $15 bus to Philadelphia, but I had to hop a plane ticket too.
It wasn't to be.
$15 bus? What are you living in Atlantic City, bro? Where do you get a $15 bus from on the East Coast?
7th Avenue and 40th Street. Pull up. I'll show you
all right. I know that bus very well. You're lucky to make it down there alive if that's the case.
Our supporters are wild. I've been seeing today pretty much all the tickets to Columbus are gone. So people are now flying into Cleveland. I've seen people flying into Pittsburgh, people flying into Akron, all these different surrounding areas now, and busing in.
Oh, we're descending on Columbus.
It's going to be awesome. Yeah, I can't wait.
So, Eric, you noted that I walked through the history of this year and all of these missed opportunities, but think back to 2018. If someone had told you in 2018, by 2023, you're going to be competing for your second MLS Cup, would we have considered that to be a big deal? Where would folks have been? I know where we're at right now, given the way the year has been, and oh gosh, can we get this one? But given where we started, how do folks feel about that?
Thinking about this, the first thing that comes to my mind is how much different our expectations would have been if we wouldn't have lost to the Sounders in 2019, because we kind of then spent these years in the wilderness with Vela being injured in 20, being injured in 21, not making the playoffs one year. And we wondered, did that opportunity pass? It came so quickly and so good. How long are we going to wait? And then we get it, and now we're here again. So, in short, in 2018, you can't expect much out of an expansion team. And so to have 2019, even the 2018 season was amazing. 2019 was just magical. But then, to get that anticipation, I think, has really made us savor these moments more. And I think this trophy, if we can make it this weekend and just competing in it, I think really we know what it is to suffer. So we can appreciate the victory now, I think, a little better.
I would like to jump in on this one because I feel pretty strongly about this. I think that my answer would be different between the beginning of 2018 and the end of 2018. So I'm going to give my answer from the end of 2018. So like walking out of the playoff defeat, the inexplicable 3-2 loss to Real Salt Lake, after the season that we'd had, going into decision day in Kansas City with an opportunity to win the West, failing to do so, getting the seed we did, and then, having the trip up, I'd say that I would have chalked all of that up to first year jitters. And I look around the conference, both conferences, and I say, who is demonstratively better than LAFC after year one? And honestly, if you tell me, after in year 6 we'd be going for our second, I would say, you know what? Yeah. I don't even tell me that we're going for a back to back. I would have guessed that we'd gotten one just based off that first year performance and like how we came into the league and made ourselves known. And we won in Seattle. We racked up a whole bunch of points. I think we set the record. We set records as an expansion team that year. I think that not even knowing what the beauty that 2019 was going to bring, I'd have had a lot of confidence in the trajectory of the club coming out of 2018.
Pablo, I feel like you have some thoughts on this.
Well, yeah. Jesus, man, can you read minds? So what is your deal? Look, I was saying, now that we're talking all about this, the beginning, it comes to my mind something that I heard last week. I love Jorge Valdano. I don't know how many of you guys know Jorge Valdano is. It's a striker for the Argentinian team that scored in the final of 1986. He then become sporting director of Real Madrid because he played for Real Madrid. And it's a guy who, honestly, it's a poet that happened to play football. That's what happens. He's a poet, but then he played football in Real Madrid. And every time he opens his mouth and says stuff, it's just beautiful when he talks about the sport. And he was saying something that really stroked me. When you're talking about all those things, I just thought about LAFC. They asked him how they feel those epic comebacks from Real Madrid when he was there in the Bernabeu. And he said, this is the thing. It's about the legend, that you have to feed the legend and the narrative of that we are the winners. And there's a moment that just not the fans believe it. Then the players believe it. And then the rival believe it. That's the most important. You have to feed that narrative that you are the winner. And when your rival believe that narrative, they're done. And I was thinking before our MLS Cup, I was afraid because I start noticing a lot of people with the narrative, no, we're going to choke. We always choke, man. We're going to, and I was like, just shut up. I mean, we just started. This is a baby. I mean, we're in our 3rd, 4th season and we're already talking about choking. Easy, man. It's not easy to win a championship. And after we won this year, it's a completely different feeling. Nobody has dared to say anything about choking because they can. Because we finished the job, and that's what Philly was saying. At the end of the day, it's about taking care of business and winning the championship. Now, this season has been hard because we let some trophies. To me, that the U.S. Open Cup is the one that hurt me the more because we just gifted, that we just quit. And I still can't believe it. I still can't forgive Steve for doing that. I still have it in my heart every time, like, gifted to our rivals. Oh my God, I can't get over it. But anyways, but even with that, I feel like it doesn't matter to me how much it's gonna happen on Saturday. Of course, I know that I want us to win, and I think we have a very good chance to win. But it doesn't feel the same like it was before, like, oh, we're going to choke, because LAFC never can finish the job. I know we can finish the job. We have done it. But I also know the finals are finals. And in the final, anything can happen, anything can happen. And it's the most beautiful thing is that we're going to go and we're going to play an amazing match, guys. Like the Philadelphia today, everybody said this is the best final in the history of MLS, but I feel like us remembering all these seasons that happens in the finals that we lost in Conca Champions, like, it's amazing, man. It's amazing that one team, the sixth season, we already lost two finals of the Champions League. I mean, just think about it. So it's if we are honest, how much a lot of the other teams would there, how much Austin would love to say, in the 6th season. We are going for a second MLS Cup. And yes, we lost 2 finals, but finals of the champions, I mean, it's big, man. I love this team. I hope we get the second star. And I want us to keep this narrative. We are winners, man. This is a big club. And never go back to start doubting if we're going to choke or not. We are going to get this thing done. That's how I feel.
Love it. Philly, I see you nodding a lot while Pablo is speaking. Are you 100% in agreement here?
I'm just really happy to see Pablo. It's just such a long time since I've seen my good friend, somebody who reached out to me, season 1 of Defenders. I love you, Pablo, and I appreciate everything you said there.
Love you too, bro.
I don't believe that this is a surprise that LAFC has been as successful as it has been. And there's a reason for that. The ambition was, depicted from the very beginning to build a brand new stadium in downtown Los Angeles by itself is an incredible feat. Between getting approvals to permits to zoning to this to that to shelling out the type of cash to build that type of stadium. And we're not talking about like raising taxes and issuing out fixed income to pay for the stadium. We're talking about owners that were shelling out private capital to build the stadium. We're talking about owners that looked at the failure of Chivas USA and opted not to buy that franchise, but to start again. And for all, by the way, is this family friendly?
Go for it.
For all the fucking clowns out there that thinks we're a rebrand, show me what personnel we kept. Show me what players' contract we honored. Show me what anything. A rebrand means you take something and you redesign it. Chivas USA was a failure. We did not accept the failure. It would have been cheaper to accept the failure and build that. This was started from scratch. $100 million as an initial investment, a $300 million stadium. They tore down an arena that had been there forever, hosting the likes of YouTube, WrestleMania, like so many different events. That stadium by itself was an indicator as to the ambition of the ownership and the members that were part of the ownership group. Then from there, they made a statement. They were looking at the likes of a Chicharito. They were looking at the likes of a Wayne Rooney. They opted to take Carlos Vela, and that worked out even better because both of those players, for whatever reasons, they flopped within Major League Soccer. And then from there, so much capital, so much marketing, guerrilla marketing, going out to the streets of LA, building a brand in a community and building a successful team, hiring what was considered and still is considered one of the best coaches in America, and that of Bob Bradley. And say whatever you want about Bob. Bob was a darn good candidate to bring in right there. They set the tone. Now, of course, we're going into the early parts of that 2018 season thinking, well, what the hell's going to happen? Diego Rossi's goal in the 11th minute set a really big precedent. It gave us a wow factor. And quite honestly, I don't speak for the North End, but I'd love to hear that 11th minute cheer every once in a while, the Diego Rossi chant, because that really started out our franchise's history. And people talk about that we've had a rough season. Bullshit. How have we had a rough season? We've made it to Cup Finals. Does it suck that we lost them? You bet your ass it did. But what's a rough season is going 4-20-10 and having the highest payroll in the league. And that's Toronto. That is a rough season. We obviously lost a bunch of trophies, but look at how dangerous a well-rested LAFC team can be. We're going into our 53rd game of the season, and we're firing on all cylinders at this moment. And to me, it is not a surprise. For anybody that thinks like we choke and we lose in the big game, look in the mirror and reconsider your own lives. This is a success story. If you think LAFC is not a success story, God only knows what demands you had out of your own lives. I feel this is one of the greatest franchise expansions that have ever occurred in the history of sport. If you're getting your MBA or whatever in sports business, there should be a case study done on LAFC as to how to build a successful team.
That's a mic drop. We did lose Jonathan while you were talking. I think while you were talking there, Philly, that Jonathan's like, all right, I got nothing to add. I think he had some technical difficulties. Is he back, Darren? Do we have him back?
He's not back, but we do have one more with us.
We do have one more with us. Yes, we do. The Podfather himself, the OG LAFC podcast from Heart of LAFC, none other than Joseph Zacher. Joseph, we owe it to you.
Greetings, Los Angeles. Back in. Thank you guys for having me
Welcome.
on. This is absolutely brilliant. And who knew we'd be back here again a year later doing it again? It's awesome. We're lucky again.
We are lucky, and we're lucky to have Jonathan back with us.
Sorry, some technical difficulties. I found a gremlin in the
That was season 1, yeah.
I was about to blame your ducks for chewing on the cables outside of your house.
no, that's the computer, of course, because I took it to broadcast games with Philly over the weekend and had some issues, but all resolved now. We can move on peacefully and gleefully into the finals here.
Excellent. Well, we do have a couple more questions that I want to ask, but let's go to some questions from our audience. Darren, you want to pull up a question? You've been curating those questions while
Sure, yes. I've been in the background, stirring the cauldron. We have the first question that came in. Does Bouanga outscore Vela's record? Does anyone want to take this?
Right. And for anyone who doesn't know, he's 1 goal shy of tying Vela's single season record across all competitions. Who wants to take this one?
This is
He
from
ties,
Chris
but
Blast.
doesn't pass it. That's my
Ooh.
guess. One
Well,
goal in
that's
the
it.
final.
We're done.
Yeah, I think he's gonna break it. I'll go with it. He's gonna break it. Probably Hollingshead's gonna add another. Let's do this.
Joseph calling for 3 goals.
I think
Boy.
Bouanga he's been vocal about his desire to go back to back. He knows how important he is to the offense. And when he plays well and appears on the score sheet multiple times, LAFC is very, very difficult to beat. So I think that he's going to go into that match, not pressing, not putting too much on himself, but just saying, this game will go through me. And I think that's going to translate into at least 2 goals, which will give him the record by himself.
I mean, if I'm Columbus, I'm not particularly thrilled that he didn't score in the last game because he's hungry to score. He's hungry to score at least 1 goal. How are you feeling about this one, Dweezy?
Is this a score prediction or just a Bouanga prediction?
Does Bouanga get at least
I'll
goal?
give you both. I'll give you both. LAFC are going to win 2-0, and it's going to be Bouanga scoring twice, and Crepeau is going to save a penalty.
Okay.
Wow.
We are going to get
The
to
keep of Los Angeles.
later in the show, but yes, love it. 2 goals. Excellent. So he will outscore Vela's record.
Well, I want to, real quick, let's not assume Vela won't also score.
I mean, to
Let's not
Pablo's,
assume LAFC won't score.
It's a big game for him. What?
to Pablo's point earlier, he was hungry at this last game. It was very clear. He came
Yeah.
within
Oh, he was
inches
going
of
for it.
getting a goal in the 4th minute. So he definitely looks like he wants to
Yeah,
go
you
out
think
with a
Bouanga's
bang.
hungry.
But Vela is playing like this is his legacy moment, right? He's playing like he's walking away. Now, obviously, we know nothing. Nothing's been said. We saw him walk off the pitch. We saw the manner in which he was announced off the pitch and given that moment, right? So there's a lot of writing on the wall at this point. And I think one big piece of it has been his performance, because we have seen Vela in this last game is a different energy and work rate than he's been able to put out this season, which means he's empty in the tank. And I love to see it. I picked when I was on Defenders last week that Vela was going to score. The crossbar denied me early, but I would say that Carlos Vela, there is no keeping him off the score sheet in this game.
Yeah, I think finals get really tough, and I think Bouanga is really tough to predict. I'm kind of on the fence whether he gets a goal or not. I think a lot of times in finals and big games, you kind of get heroes that you don't expect. And I mean, even the last game, Bouanga didn't get one. We had a own goal. We had an Escobar own goal, and so who knows where this goes? But I think there's a good chance he at least ties it. I think breaking is going to be tough.
It's a reminder of just how significant that Vela record was. How big a deal, how many goals he got, because we played so many fewer games in that 2019 season, and Vela still has 1 more goal than Bouanga has gotten for as much as he's been a goal scorer across all competitions. Darren, we have another question. Do you want to pull up?
Sure. This is from Micah Gutierrez. Question: assuming we win and play in next year's Champions League, how do we get back to the final?
I mean, I feel like there's a few steps ahead of ourselves here, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Pablo.
Well, I honestly, I'm not, I know a lot of people here saying that we're jinxing the whole thing because everybody's positive, but it's our pod family, man. We're not gonna bet against our own team. I mean, we have to, believe. I mean, I choose to believe that we're gonna win. I don't think that. By the way, I didn't answer that question. But I don't think Bella Buanga is gonna outscore Bella's record. I think it's not gonna happen. I think they're gonna cover him, and probably he's not gonna have as many chances to put 2 or 3 goals or something like that. So I don't think we're gonna go with clean sheet. It's impossible. I mean, you have to see this team. You have to see who we're playing against. They have a tremendous attack. I know we have a tremendous defense, but we have to. It's a final. We have to go for the win. So we're gonna have to open some spaces. Anyways, so when it comes to if we're gonna go, I don't understand why are not we qualified for the champions, because we won the West, but I don't understand why we're not. But I would say that like you said, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have a match that we have to play, and anything can happen. It's a final, but I know our guys can do it, and hopefully they get the result. It doesn't matter. It can be a 1-0. I don't care. I just want to win.
But we weren't going to get a clean sheet, Pablo.
Huh?
You just said we weren't gonna get a
Yeah,
clean sheet.
What I'm saying is, even if it's a 1-0 and we win, it's fine. I mean, but I know it's very difficult to get a clean sheet.
I'll
It's
take
a
a 1-0.
final. It's a final, and just saying, just talking about football, man. I'm just talking about football. It's a tremendous attack that those guys have.
Anyone else want to predict how we get to the Champions League final next year if we win the?
Sure. A couple things. Functional VAR, right? That would probably help us. Certainly in the past. You got to get a favorable draw early on, right? You have to perform well on the road. All those things we know. And how about let's not have to face like 5 Mexican teams again? That would be great as well too.
That was not the problem, Jonathan. Sorry, I didn't actually answer the question.
Or play 40 games in the process. Yeah.
But look, I didn't really answer the question. So sorry about that. I just talked stuff that has nothing to do. The way we can win the Champions League, it's by not losing our forwards before we have to go to a freaking, continental, twice we lost. But we lost Diomande and then Wright Phillips. We didn't replace any of them. We went with Moose. I mean, I love Moose. He put all the effort, but it's Moose. It's not Diomande. And then we let go Chicho just right after we have to go. So what is the way? How can we win? Just don't let your striker go, because if we let Buanga go before we go to champions, I mean, just sorry.
And I think on that, and hopefully this doesn't just kind of destroy the rest of the answer to this, but I do think our team next season is going to be a very different team. I think probably at least half of our starters next season aren't going to be guys that started this season. So it's just, if Lord willing, we are able to come out on top Saturday, which I fully believe is going to happen, because I think we've lost enough trophies that as an outlier, we have to win one. I think, the strategy is going to be completely different. We're going to have a completely different looking team. We're probably, and we got some of the guys that came in who haven't really picked it up this last 6 months. They're going to have an off season, and we're going to see a different style team as we've been seeing it progress under Cherundolo.
To piggyback off that response, I think that to get back to a final, if God willing we qualify via MLS Cup Championship, we need to fall back on the experience that the players that have gone through last and this season have picked up. You learn a lot through failure, you learn a lot through defeat, and we were, as stated, in some really big time situations, and you have to earn your way into those. So, whether it's running the Mexican gauntlet again, which we've done, or beating 2 MLS teams to get to a championship, which we've done, just fall back on the experiences that you've had in the past and protect the damn bank. Do not let anyone celebrate with a trophy on your field. If you get into that situation again, you gotta win.
Just want to give a big shout out to Juan Vargas. Start, bench, cut. Start, scarf, bench, Philly, cut, Hello Kitty. Juan, it's a good thing you're not a head coach, my man, because you'd be unemployed relatively quickly. Mwah. Kisses. Moving right along.
I want I want to pick up on something that I think Eric and Wally were just talking about. Like, this is the last for this team. Like, this is going to be a very, very different team next year. So for my druthers, I want to, whatever it's going to take us to get to CONCACAF final next year, great. I want us to go out on as high a note as possible on Saturday, because I want to send all these guys off as two-time champions, and then let's see what happens in the 1.5 months of off season where they sort of try and figure out what to do next. Darren, do we have another question from our audience?
Yeah, let's bring this back down to earth a little bit. This is getting a little bit more into tactics, getting into the thick of the game. From Victor Lopez, how does LAFC do the Crew's midfield?
Who wants to take that one? How do they do the Crew's midfield?
Yeah, I think we can figure out what do the Crew's midfield means.
I mean, I'll jump on. It's going to be hard. They're going to overload us. That's for certain. Nagby, for some reason, is ageless, never feels anything, and just keeps going. And that's going to be rather intimidating for our guys. I feel bad for Ilie in this match, because it's going to be bruises, man. It's going to be everywhere, and it's going to be rough. You got to wonder who's going to be next to him, knowing that it is going to be as physical as it is. Is this the game where Bogus gets to start over Tillman just because of the physicality? Like, what are we going to do in this case? It's tough. It's tough. No, I think Tillman right now is in the type of form you can't take him out. He's there. But I think for us, we're going to absorb. I think that's the best way to deal with this midfield, is rather than them getting to bruise you on it, and while you're trying to hold possession, which you're not going to, the way they overload, you bring them into you and then catch them in transition. And that's really, and honestly, that's the way they want to play too. That's the Crew's style. It's all about hold the ball, hold the ball, hold the ball. Well, the last 2 games that we've won, we've shown that we don't have to hold the ball. We don't need it. We let you play along it all you want. We'll catch you. And I think that's how you deal with an overload like this, is you just absorb and counter.
Are you predicting another 70-30 possession game as the last 2?
It could be worse than that.
Yeah.
It could be worse by design. It could be worse.
Seattle was 80-20, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was closer to 80-20. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's working, so why change?
Yeah, I one thing I think with Columbus is they play 3 in the back. They play kind of the Christmas tree, or else they'll play a 3-4-3. And so, they do have 2 midfielders versus our 3, so we will have a little advantage there. But I do think what we're probably going to do is, mostly when we're attacking, we're going to bypass the midfield completely for Oliveira and Bouanga to run at their center backs, who are going to have a little tougher time on the one-on-ones. I think, especially on Bouanga's side, they're both of those guys are going to be hard to deal with. And I think mostly our midfield is going to focus on just not allowing Columbus to get transition on us, and making sure everybody can get back and slow them down in time for our forwards to get back and play defense, which they've been doing very good at all year, or since we've started really turning it up.
I think a lot of it also has to do with our back line, right? I mean, what are Chiellini and Murillo doing to limit the options for that midfield to move forward? I mean, one of the best ways to stop that midfield is to take away their ability to pass to the forwards, right? And if they constantly just have to go back side to side and can't find any penetrating passes into the box, then there you go. And you can win a midfield with your back line. If you just don't give them options. And I think that's been really instrumental for LAFC throughout the course of this entire playoff run, has been the play of Murillo and Chiellini, and just their strength and ability to just not provide any options. I mean, there's been nowhere for the ball to go. And so a midfield can have all the possession they want. They can boss around and have all kinds of fun. But if that movement is lateral, who cares?
Great answers. Great answers. Anyone else want to chime in with thoughts on how we handle the Crew's midfield here? All right, Darren, let's bring up the next question. I know we got other audience questions. Let's bring it up. I'm loving this, the tactics and the X's and O's.
Let me find a good one here. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. How do you feel the team's recognition of the supporting fans and the 3-2-5-2? I've never seen another MLS team representing the supporters the way LAFC is doing it.
Oh,
go ahead, Wally.
That is like a day one endeavor. I remember a conversation I had with Rich or us back in like 2016, 2017. And the conversation was already centered on community outreach, on building the hype, and then bringing the hype into the cathedral that, is now BMO Stadium. It was always one of the main intentions of the club to have a really vibrant, energetic supporters scene, and then also have a hugely synergetic relationship with that community. And they've absolutely hit it out of the park, and then maintain that level of quality throughout the existence of the club. And now it's something that every club in Major League Soccer has to revere and respect, because as the comment says, nobody in MLS does it like LAFC.
I think the perfect person to talk about this is the George Washington of the 3252, the original president of the 3252, Mr. Joseph Zacher. The mic is yours.
I'll do my best without giving away the secret sauce. I'll go with that. Ultimately, the first day that we walked in, it was with Rich. I came in kind of with an attitude, not going to lie, having dealt with other organizations that are less than stellar. And he blew my mind with the approach. And it was pretty much like, here's your clean slate. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? How can we help you get there? What do you want? What's your shopping list? Was pretty much how it went, within reason, of course. And things kept expanding as we kept expanding, right? And so, they gave us the challenge of a section that's 3,252 deep, which no one's done in this league either. And go for it. What can you do to get there? And that was pretty much that's been the vibe since day one, is get there, challenge yourselves, do something more than anybody else. Of course, the Dortmund trip happened. It was beautiful. But ultimately the inspiration from each individual group and what they wanted had to be the thing that worked. There had to be that amazing competitive spirit within, but being constructive in the process. So it's kind of the perfect worlds colliding. The supporters worked out the way they did. The club never lost its trust with us. And if you don't lose that trust, this is where you end up. Could it be lost in a second? Oh yeah, it could be gone. But we've been lucky. We've been blessed to be where we're at. And we've had good people like Rich, like Larry, this ownership group. You can't go wrong. We got lucky as supporters. And they held to their word. So that's why we are where we are today, traveling mid-December into Columbus. And if we had our say, it would be a home game. Ultimately, you've seen the ticket request. If we had open season on this thing, we would probably fill their stadium with our own people, and they wouldn't even need their own people. That simple. It's there. The requests are there. We still see it now. We are now a different culture than any other MLS supporter group has ever been. We're on our own level, and yes, other groups will get there. I expect them to get there. I see some things that are promising, but it's damn awesome to be the first to get there, and just as hope we don't lose it at this point. We got to keep fighting for it.
The secret sauce. I love it. I love it, Joseph.
Yeah.
I would also say
Wanna know
that
what you didn't say.
this show tonight is emblematic of that secret sauce, right? Like the organic growth of this pod community, right? Which, Joseph, you had a big part in that, clearly, as you did with the 3252. But find me another MLS club that has the kind of organic podcasting community that has come up and grown up around LAFC. I don't know. Good luck.
Man, I just gotta, and kind of, I know I've thanked Joseph for this before, but I've shared this with you guys, but my first LAFC game was the home opener in 2018 that I kind of went to because I was intrigued about this new team. When I sat down, I still didn't quite know what offsides was in soccer because I grew up playing hockey. I knew it was hockey, but soccer, it kind of so to where I am with this, if you go back to there, that's me. I don't know what offside is. And the culture that has been built here, and I feel so part of it as somebody who came from the outside and welcomed into this group, just like anybody else can be into this. It's I think I hope that kind of shows the work you actually did is converting people like me to become complete freaking fanatics,
we grow with it, which is also important, right? It's not the snobbery of I know everything, you know nothing, you can't learn this. That ain't us. It's definitely a learn together environment. Because in reality, no matter what you've done with football as a supporter before coming into this is new. This is different. You have to be smart. You have to move on your feet. We have something very unique and very special. It is not like Europe. Sorry, it's not. We have different challenges, different expectations, a different draw. They've got a century of it in many cases. We're going from scratch. And yes, we bring our histories from those clubs, but it doesn't really matter. We're creating an LAFC culture, and that includes all of us. It has to. It just
And
has
Eric, if you still want to see a soccer player get whistled for a 3-line pass, you could come join some indoor with Philly and I.
I'm gonna come check it out for sure.
I would also tell you, don't feel bad about not understanding offside. Pro still hasn't figured it out.
But the acronym for pro still stands for pretty rancid officiating.
That's a burn right there. I'm curious for you, Dweezy, being here for so many years and now being overseas. How is that culture sort of, how's that experience been for you with the supporters culture now sort of being in a completely different part of the world?
Yeah, well, everything Joseph said, which I have had the pleasure to help document from the beginning, but like I wouldn't care anymore. Like I left the country. Like why would I care about this if it wasn't as special as it is? And some of you guys were talking about, is this going to be so and so Vela's last game, Chiellini's last game? The first time we do that, the last time we just, and then what Joseph was just saying, like how you have to kind of like forget everything, in order to like thrive in this culture. This is true for like everything in life. You always should approach things with like a beginner's mind state. And like, you should always approach things like it's the first and the last time you'll ever do anything. And being away now from the chance to go to games every week and to walk to games and to see people I love every week, like, of course, your appreciation for all those times like shoots through the roof. And as much as I tried to appreciate it then, I wish I could have sucked more out of it. Because like, yeah, this is like our last final. This is our first final. Like it's the same for the players. If they enter the pitch with like ready to give it all, and we enter the stands with ready to give it all, and enjoy the fullness of the moment, like I feel like, you can really live. You can live and be a part of the sport in a way that I wouldn't have had access to without this community. And without community and without those shared sense of memories. I mean, I followed Arsenal for 20 years. And I've been to football all over the world, but it wasn't until I stitched together that community that I was able to even like conceive of things to enjoy the moments like that. Like, and one thing, who was it? Who told me this? When I did the Black Army, I was doing some Black Army profile. I was up in Portland and it was Albert. And Albert turned to me. I was like, what's the score? What do you think's going to happen? He's like, I don't care. I was like, what? What do you mean you don't care? He's like, this is like amazing. Like he's like, he really didn't care. And Albert is now working for the club. He's the person who helps you with all your season tickets, right? Like this is the mentality that gets within the organization. It comes from the community and it all comes from a place of like, I would call it, without getting too spiritual and tea on y'all, it's a place of presence. It's a place of like being there. And I think what I've learned in being away is I can still be with you even though I'm away, because we have so many memories together. Without those, if I was, I would love to hear from someone who like never had access to the community and they were just sort of like watching from afar and never got to do it in person, what that would be like. That'd be a different challenge. But for me, I'm just grateful. I'm just filled with like gratitude, and I can't like wait for all of our collective memories of whatever happens. I don't know. That I probably went off the rails. I'm drinking too much Phoenix Oolong over here. If you know the pod, the Phoenix Oolong is going to get me gone. So there you go.
Love it. And I think the game time for you will be 8 a.m. on Sunday, yes?
It's 6 a.m.
Oh.
Yeah, 6 a.m.
All right.
It's just like supporting Arsenal. You're used to being, 6 pints deep by 6 a.m. Come on.
I wake up at 5. The first tea is at 5. Meditation then for half an hour. Then I do my Qigong. By 6 a.m., I'm ready to do the stuff, y'all. So there you go.
Amazing. Darren, do we have any other audience questions you want to bring up?
We do. Actually, this one was asked by two different people, so I feel like I got to put it up. Will Diego celebrate if he scores versus LAFC?
Ooh.
Yes.
It's a
Strong
Put it
Yes.
away.
opinion.
Do we think
Absolutely.
if Rusty scores on us, will he celebrate or not?
Yeah, of course he will. It's the MLS Cup Final. Something he never had the opportunity to realize with LAFC. He's playing in front of his home crowd. He's trying to obviously cement himself in this league's lore. One will argue that his most successful tenure was at LAFC. Over in the Turkish Super League, he was okay, but talking to a lot of supporters of the club that he had represented, Fenerbahce, they weren't entirely thrilled with Diego Rossi's play. He joins the Columbus Crew lineup, and all of a sudden he starts climbing up the rankings with several goals and several assists relatively quickly. He obviously contributed in that game against FC Cincinnati, which I'm still bitter about, by the way. I would have preferred FC Cincinnati against the Columbus Crew. But at this point, the vast majority of his teammates, the vast majority of his friends, the vast majority of the coaching staff is gone. Ante Razov still is there, and Carlos Vela is still there. And obviously Larry and John Thornton and people of that nature are still there. But he doesn't have any reason not to celebrate. He's not Chicho. Chicho had every reason not to celebrate. We embraced him. We loved him. We were sad to see him go. Plenty of people kept DMing him about how much they'd want him back. And Diego Rossi was a special player. He certainly set a really good precedent for us. But at the end of the day, if he does not celebrate on his own home pitch, I, as a Columbus Crew supporter fan, which I am not, by the way, would be utterly pissed. If he scores, which he will not, because one thing that we do have is a pretty stellar back line and a damn good keeper in that of Maxime Crépeau. And also, we haven't been scored upon since that first game against Vancouver, a game in which we absolutely smoked them like a brisket. It's not going to happen. So would he celebrate if he scored a goal? Yes. Will he celebrate on Saturday? No, because he's not going to score a goal. He's going to get shut down.
All right, there you go, Pablo. It looks like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I think it's gonna depend on us. What is gonna happen when they go to warming? If all people start chanting his name, he won't celebrate. Why? Because you have to think, Philly. He comes from Uruguay. You know, that's a different culture. He understands how important it is for the fans the fact that they're chanting his name. A club where he spent years, you know, and he just got there, man. I mean, of course he's happy he's scoring goals and everybody, but he doesn't have anything there yet, right? He just got there. So, but on the other hand, he spent years in on LAFC. We saw Poku. Lee Wen was in the match in this final. We have Tyler Miller last year. I mean, players are still have LAFC in their heart. Some the ones that pass here. Of course, when he jumps to the pitch, our people start doing stuff and saying stupid shit. Of course, he's gonna fuck you. I'm gonna score a goal. If I score a goal, I'm gonna celebrate. But I think it's gonna depend on us. How our people, because remember, Chicho was not gonna celebrate just because he loved us and loved the city and everything, but also when he went to warming, everybody was almost people stand up to, he went over. I mean, he knows we love him, and I think it would be bad for us to say anything bad against him in that match. I think when the match starts, of course we can do it, but before, it will be really bad from us because he scored our first goal, man. He's still Diego Rossi. I mean, we have to put him in the place he belongs. He's the first guy who scored for us. Of course, we have to, chant his name and make him feel. And I don't know. I don't think he will celebrate if we show love first. That's all.
Pablo, I love you, buddy, and I couldn't agree with you more. But I think it's a moot point because I stand by what I said. He's not going to score, so we don't have to really worry about this.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't score, of course.
On a related note here from some other rando in the chat, will either of the former LAFC guys factor into the scoreline?
Yes.
Erica, you brought up your Diego Rossi scarf. You want to add to this?
Yeah, man. I mean, Diego, as I always, it was such a legend for the club. He's a guy I could never bring myself to boo him. I think if he scores, which I agree with Philly, I don't think he is going to score. I think our coaching staff in particular, none of the players on defense really played with him, but Razov knows him really, really well. And I think they're really good. I think Hollingshead also was a smart enough veteran that they're they're going to shut him down. But I think the hypothetical world where Rossi does score against us in a final, I believe he would celebrate, but he wouldn't taunt the fans like El Brujo Martinez of Philly did with the cry that my wife almost got kicked out because she's about to throw stuff at him. And I was like, no. But I think he'd be super respectful about it. And he was just such a delightful guy to have on our team. I mean, he was pretty much impossible to hate. So, we'll see how it is. I could never cheer against Diego, except for I just want him to get shut down. That's it. And so we can move on. He can enjoy his Eastern Cup final or his Eastern Cup trophy and nothing more.
I would
it's
just
easy for Ramirez to score. It's easy for Ramirez to score. You know why I'm saying this? Because they're playing Diego in a position that is not his best. He's playing way in the back, and it's lethal on the how you say lanes in English. I don't know the name in English, but you know what I'm saying. When he plays from the outside, that's what he was playing in Fenerbahce, and they are playing him inside, and it's okay. He's doing good, but not as good as he will do in the outside. While Ramirez, it's getting a lot of service from those guys, and he's been doing good. So will Ramirez celebrate?
Oh, he will. No.
Oh, he will.
We let him go. We just kind of like, no, we're not re-signing you. He went to Houston, and Ramirez, he's a tough player. I think he doesn't have that fan favorite that Rossi had. So I definitely think for him, he'll relish scoring against us much more, I think.
Well, I also remember when we won the Supporter Shield, Houston was on the field. They all went off, and he stood in the tunnel and watched the whole thing, just wishing he could have been there. We got rid of him, right? We let him go, and he sat there. And we did get him. He got a ring for that, right? He did get something for that. But the way he was standing there, because I saw him standing there, it was painful. I got to be honest. So for him,
he celebrated with the players, no? He did. I think some of them called him, and he was like, not celebrating, but
But that's still hard. You're not really in it, right? You're a visitor in that case. He wasn't going into the locker room and hitting the champagne. It's from a distance, and so now he gets the chance to go at a team that basically let him leave. I mean, really, that's what he's dealing with. So I think it's a different vibe than say Rossi, because he's got something to prove against us.
All right, guys. So I've got a question for all of you now. Which player on our side are you going to be most watching? I guess we could call it the player to watch, but I'm just sort of thinking like, who are you going to have an eye on to get a sense of how are we doing in this one?
Crepo. I need another masterclass. And I think the same way that it was very clear from early on that like he was really in his bag against Seattle, I want to see the exact same, execution, confidence, communication. And I think if we see that, then it builds forward, because if Crepo's, on his top level, then he's going to be communicating with the back line, communicating together the outside, going forward, is going to be able to help the midfield, which will then support the forward. So for me, I want to know that if it breaks down in open play, Crepo's going to, make a save and take away a goal that should absolutely be scored the same way that, saving worldies all over the field in Seattle. I want to see that again. So Crepo for me.
All right.
Denny. I mean, so much of our offense has come through Denny, and it's the easiest answer of all of the LAFC players. And I hope some of y'all say Carlos Vela, because that would be my next one. But as far as our offense is concerned, look, it all goes by way of Denny. It's nice to see Ryan Hollingshead score. Ryan Hollingshead is going to be in a really good position to find the back of the net, much like he did off that deflection on the corner kick. Denny creates. And he will create. And I think he will continue to break down Columbus's defense. And I think it was, I forget, I think it might have been Eric who said it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or maybe even you, Luke. The fact that he didn't score in the previous game, I would be worried if I was Columbus, because Denny doesn't really go that many matches without scoring a goal. He is very goal-oriented, not like the literal sense. Yes, the literal sense, but in the bullet point sense. I know he wants to beat Carlos Vela's record. I know he's hungry for those goals. And I don't think it's going out on a limb, stating the fact that he's going to score 2 in this game. Our offense has been heavily reliant upon him. And I think going into the finals, it's going to continue to be heavily reliant upon him. And yes, Juan, he is horny for goals.
In bunches. That's what he does. Especially if he doesn't get one the game before, it'll be multiples. That's how he operates. Hollingshead was a name I was going to come up with. How much freedom he gets in this game really says a lot about what we can do and what we can operate with. If he's pinned, we're in trouble, right? He's got to get that freedom. Vela's the other one. Is he going to play really high like we did the last game? That kind of threw Houston off a bit. Or is he going to drop back low again and let Bouanga do the work? We'll see how that story plays itself out. I have a feeling you'll see a bit of a switch up this game.
For me, it's cheeky because that dude, if he's possessing, he's getting down, he's getting crosses in from the end line. Like, I want to see that own goal that we got out of Houston. That was cheeky, making that pass into a dangerous area. That it was dangerous enough that just a single little touch from Franco Escobar was enough to get us the second goal and to safety. So I'm watching him.
Yeah, for me, and hasn't come up with a guy that we've been just super excited about is Christian Oliveira. I think this guy has completely turned our season on its head when he started appearing in the starting lineup, and I think there's a direct trajectory from when he came in as a starter to our results just absolutely skyrocketing. I think he does a ton of the dirty work off of the ball, especially back in defense, that he doesn't get a lot of credit for because it's not very glamorous, but the guy is just a blue collar. He does all the dirty work. He does the ugly stuff. He eats his vegetables. So he's a guy I really respect and appreciate.
I'll leave Chiellini and Vela for others, but maybe I'm going to still do a double dip with Callan Acosta and Ilya Sanchez in the midfield in our quest to get everyone to watch everyone on the team in this conversation. These two, you spoke earlier about the midfield, and so often like the way the midfield shakes out is the way a game shakes out. And finding the right balance of possession, right balance of how hard, are we going in on fouls? How much of the tone is being set by these two players? And they're both veterans, and I have all the confidence in the world in them. But if for some reason someone lunges early, gets a yellow card, things might get complicated. So watching these two and how their posture is towards the match, I think will say a lot about the team. So I'll take those two.
Yeah, mine was going to be Vela because it's a legacy-setting game. He's playing for something a little bit more, but honestly, there's a lot of guys playing for something a little bit more. I know we're biased, but I'm sure there's a few guys in a similar situation with the Crew, but he's playing for a little bit more. Bouanga's playing for a little bit more because he's hungry. Chiellini's playing for a little bit more. I mean, it's crazy how easily all of these names just rolled off the tip of our tongue. That we already, what did we name? 8 guys that could change the game. This is kind of crazy. Like, we're just that fucking stacked that, like, name a guy on the starting 11 and the whole game could turn on what they do. I mean, I totally agree with Ryan. It's been awesome to watch playoff Max. Like, he's been on another level recently. For all the ups and downs that we've had, where we started getting hot right at the right time, and it's just like, what we're all getting at here is that there isn't a weak link. There is, like, any guy out there can change the game completely with the way that they play. But yeah, particularly with both Vela and Bouanga being particularly hungry, and then you've got Chiellini in the back. And like Ryan mentioned, like, if it does make it to Max, like, it's not getting past him. Like, I'm more concerned about who on the Crew can do anything to get by any of these guys.
You sound genuinely concerned, Aaron.
I really don't know what they're going to do. I wish them the best.
We'll get to
be really hard.
We'll get to that. Pablo, did you have anyone that you wanted? Because we've heard from everyone else here, and just in case anyone is listening to this after we recorded, we did lose Jonathan again. Apparently, he's having issues with his internet and will not be able to join us again. So sad to see him go. Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
I was gonna say Chiellini because this might be his last game. I mean, he might retire after this. So he's gonna go. This is my last game. It's a final. You know, but then Q Cardi
That's
just
not
said,
around.
Mario Gonzalez for me. Keep an eye on him and don't let him off the bench. and I was like, no, you know what, Q Cardi? I love you, man. But we're going to be 1-1. Last minute, Mario Gonzalez is going to score the winning goal, and we're going to be champions. Listen what I'm saying
You
right
heard
now.
it here first, folks.
The guy who nobody believed in him, okay? Nobody believed he could come back from, you know, he's going to come. He's going to give us the second start.
No one plays left bench like Mario Gonzalez.
All right, so
I don't
who
know,
are we
man. I don't know.
watching on the crew?
Well, the thing is, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this. They usually attack with 4 all the time. When they attack, it's not like you see one. No, they go 4 always. One of the midfielders join the 3, and they just go like when they have space, which is gonna be different in this game. They're not gonna have that space. Cucho for me is the most dangerous there. I know because, like I said, Rossi's not gonna play in his usual position, and Rossi is lethal with space, and he's not gonna have space. But Cucho, oh man, that guy is really dangerous, you know, and he's not selfish. That's even worse. He's not this type of guy who's just gonna want to be the one who scored the goal. No, man. This guy plays for the team, and that's why I think it's the one that we have to keep an eye on.
I'm a big fan of Alexandru Irinel Matan from Galați, Romania. 24-year-old kid. I'm going to be slightly biased on this perspective because my family happens to be from Bucharest. Here's a kid who grew up playing in the George Hagi Academy. For those of you who don't know, George Hagi was referred to as the Carpathian Maradona. If you don't believe me, go back to watch some of his highlights, in particular from the 94 World Cup. He scored some bangers in the United States that would knock your socks off. The kid comes highly regarded and coached very well. He's the second leading, he's number 2 on the team as far as assists are concerned. And his importance shows because there's only 2 other players on the Columbus Crew that have played in more games than him. So I am a big fan of this young man, 24 years old from Galați. He's a player to watch out for. And I mean, he's a big anchor in that midfield. A lot of the questions were asked, how do we contain the Columbus Crew's midfield? And he's a big part of their offense. Jay Sanchez, you're right. Romanian for that matter, has a lot of Latin origin to it, which is why it was easy for me to pick up Spanish, because a lot of people don't know this, by the way. Romanian is actually my first language. I grew up watching Sesame Street. That's how I learned English. That and being on the mean streets of Queens, New York. But yes, Romanian sometimes gets categorized as a Slavic language, which is idiotic because the way I say home is the same way somebody in Mexico says home. I'm in my casa. So yes, that's correct.
Excellent. Others want to offer up who you're watching on the Crew. I will just say I will be watching their keeper, not because I'm particularly nervous about him, but I feel like he's been a little suspect in some of the games. There was that second Cincinnati goal in the last game, the volume of goals he gave up to Atlanta. I feel like his positioning hasn't been the best. So as far as I'm concerned, bring it. Let's have a keeper who's not feeling super confident as he's going up against the likes of Vela and Bouanga and Kike and others. I would love to see how that breaks down. But for me, I'm watching that keeper because if we can break through at all, I suspect that he's going to be in a bit of a world of hurt.
I'm going to say Wilfried Nancy, the coach. Their coach, the way he speaks, the way he is, the way he carries himself, he just sort of terrifies me more than any of their players because he's just the exact type of coach I'd want coaching any of the clubs that I support. And so who knows what kind of tricks he's got up his sleeve. If he loses hope at some point, that'll be great, but I don't see it happening. So hopefully our players can just simply outplay theirs because I do think Nancy is one to watch.
I can piggyback off of that. There was an interview with Hernandez related to his coach. They asked him about the approach to the game, the semifinal, the whole thing, and basically said that's the best coach I've had to work under, the most inspiring that I've had to work under. Doesn't get lost in the video, doesn't overcoach in big moments, tells them to enjoy the match, enjoy the moment, respect the moment because you don't know when you're going to get it again. And so he's got them pretty much playing on a high where they have nothing to lose, right? Because they're in the moment they want to be, go to get the job done. It's that simple. So I don't see any fight getting lost in this team. His inspiration for his players is there. The tactics are there. Yeah, he is definitely an X factor here, where on our side, we examine everything, right? LAFC, if you know the way they operate, everything gets touched, right? You check on everything. A little bit of different approach. So we'll see how that plays itself out. I think Nagbe for me is another one. You know, he's kind of in the twilight, right? We'll see what he does in this game. This could be his last chance of getting more silverware against one of our old vets. There's going to be a real duel there. Yeah.
Yeah, Wally, you looked like you could put your hand up.
Oh, I put my hand up, put 4. Like this, he's playing for his 4th now, I believe, or in his 4th. But Nagbe, I think, would be my player to watch too. He's got too much experience. He's too physical and tough. He's too good a leader. I think he's captain of the Crew, which makes this the second team that he's been captain of, potentially the second championship winning team he's been captain of. So, that level of experience is always dangerous on the pitch, especially when everything comes down to just a 90-minute game, because it's not only how you start, how you finish, but also how you react to the blows that come, between 0 and 90. And he's gonna have them ready to play.
Awesome. Well, guys, it's coming to that time. We're getting close to wrapping this one up. But before we do that, first, what are your score predictions? I think we already got Dweezy's 2-0, a brace from Denny Bouanga, and the clean sheet from Crépeau. Who wants to offer their predictions? Darren, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Let me add this one last audience question. Add this to your predictions too. Will you get drunker if we lose or win?
The answer is yes.
Predictions.
That's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All of the above.
Right.
All of the above.
Win or lose, we're still going to be in Columbus, Ohio, so we will be drinking heavily afterwards.
I don't think there's anything else to do.
Your bar tabs are going to be fantastic, by the way. I spent many time in Columbus. You're going to appreciate the cost of living in Columbus, Ohio.
Philly, do you want to offer your score prediction?
3-2 LAFC.
Pablo?
Gosh, man, I don't want to say over.
You don't have to.
You gotta do it.
Oh, I guess you do.
Yeah,
gotta do it,
I
Pablo.
am with Philly. I think it's a 3-2. Yes, Gonzalez scored the third in the 119 minute of extra time.
You're just all in for Mario. Yeah, Joseph?
I never predict scores. You guys know that already. I just don't.
But
do
you
it.
have to, man. I don't either, but
I'll say expected. Okay, so expected goals for both sides. I'd say it about a 4-2 on our end, but actual goals. It is the crazy world we're in here.
Yes.
Can't predict it.
All
Eric?
right. Well, I have already done this prediction, so I'm going to do the same prediction I've already done, which is going to be there's going to be some drinking involved because it's going to be a 3-3 game that goes to penalties, and Max has a redemption and get this through. Yeah, enjoy that one all.
I don't think
As Dolo subs him out for penalties.
No,
You need an IV plugged into
I just got flashback.
Man. You are a masochist.
Wally, you want to bring us back up from that?
Yes. I'm forecasting a barn burner. I think that the Crew acquit themselves admirably, get some goals behind Crépeau. I'm going to give them 3, but I'm giving LAFC 4. Bouanga gets the record. Bows out admirably, and a mystery goal from Wildcard.
Mario Gonzalez.
Super Mario.
Boom. Super Mario.
The one thing I'm taking away from this podcast is that Mario Gonzalez is going to score in the MLS Cup Final.
Put that in your parlays, everyone.
On EAFC, maybe.
Darren, what's your score prediction?
I'm on record on Happy Foot, Sad Foot as with the 3-2 prediction as well. I'll stick with that. Although I'll say with these scores and with the style of play that we've been talking about, I think this is shaping up to be an excruciating game to watch.
Yeah.
Depending on what you like to watch, but
I think we can all
it's going to
agree
be
on that.
painful.
You guys know Vegas has us as underdogs, right?
I believe it.
Get
We're going
your
dogs.
parlays in, everyone.
That was a fan question as well that we didn't get to.
Well, 3-2 was going to be my prediction as well, so I guess that seems to be the sentiment of the assembled group. Final thoughts. Let's do this going around from where I'm seeing it counterclockwise, starting with actually clockwise. Let's do clockwise. Starting with Pablo. Final thoughts.
Just saying that. Okay, guys, I'm super happy we did this. I really love to see all you guys. I insist we should do this, in person, like we said many times. We gotta find a way. If we get the second start, we should do this in person. I mean, there's nothing that could stop us. And just thank you for everybody who was watching live and everybody who stayed to the end listening on the platforms. And that's it, guys. I'm confident we can get this win. I hope we do, and super happy. That's it.
Philly.
A lot of people are saying that we can't win the big game. A lot of people saying we're choke artists. LAFC finds themselves in positions to get the glory, and they fail to do so. And I will credit somebody's comment in the chat. Those comments also come from people's that root for teams that don't make the playoffs. Certainly teams that haven't been successful down the 110 since LAFC has joined Major League Soccer. At the end of the day, I am very much an optimist, a glass half full kind of guy. I don't stare in the rearview mirror long enough. If you're a driver, whether you drive Uber, whether you drive to work, we're in LA, everybody drives. If you focus too much on the rearview mirror and what's behind you, you're going to crash into what's in front of you. You stare at what's ahead of you. What's ahead of us is this, obviously a much bigger and more glorified version of this. We have an opportunity to do something that hasn't been done since the Carson Galaxy did it a few years prior to our expansion. So none of what happened matters. We're going into Columbus, and yes, Columbus is a very good team that never really got blown out over the course of the regular season. Other than the fact that they got annihilated by the Philadelphia Union in season opener, nobody cares. And the fact that they lost to the Miami team without Messi, nobody cares. None of that shit matters. We have eyes on the prize. We are well rested, a hungry team, a fantastic coach who has not lost in the postseason in his history. And not only will we finish this season the best in the West, but yet again, one more time, second star above that kid. Get ready to shell out another $150, folks. And Larry and John Thorrington and anybody out there who administers BMO Stadium, when that banner goes down next season with the year 2023 as your MLS Cup champion, we had better see that over the course of the 2024 year, because we are the MLS, the most valuable franchise, valued by Forbes magazine over $1 billion. And we break hearts and we set trends, and everybody in the Buckeye State is going to be fucking crying on Saturday.
Awesome. I don't know if you could top that, but
You would have do it reverse. You should have been the last one. That's good. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Dweezy, you want to bring your final thought?
Good people of Los Angeles and those with Los Angeles in their hearts the world over. I just want to say that, yes, we'll all be able to remember what happens. We'll be able to look forward to what happens next after this match. But please, 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 please do not forget to enjoy it in its full capacity, wherever you watch it, however you are, whatever you're doing. Feel all the feelings, live all the things. I said a lot of this last time, and I'm going to say all this for the rest of my life. Enjoy the moment you're in, folks. You never know when it's going to be the last one, when it's going to be the last SUPERPOD. Long may this continue, but for now, this is all we got. I raise my cup of Phoenix Oolong tea to you. Someone just said this is the blunt rotation of my dreams. This is the tea hang of my dreams. I'm all tea all the time. I'm all footy all the time. Black and gold. Let's go. Love you guys.
Love it. Wally.
I'm going to use my time to give a call to action to everyone listening who plans on descending on Columbus. We've been talking about what the players can and will do, our expectations for them in this match. I think that it's going to be paramount to bring as much of the black and gold fever from BMO Stadium into the Buckeye State. Descend on this stadium, be loud, be respectful, but absolutely make these Ohioans wonder where they are and give those familiar sounds to the players on the pitch. And that is the most that we can do as, the supporters in the building to try to will our squad to that second star.
Amazing. I love it. Eric.
All right. Yeah, Wally, we're on the same page a bit. I think this is a game that it's going to be a very close game. It's going to be a war in that field with those guys, and I think it's going to be a very close, very hard fought match. They're very even teams, and if there's one thing we do know, it's that our team does feed off of us fans, and that's the one thing LAFC has an advantage of over everybody in the league is the fans. We show up at away games more than anybody else does. In the home games, it's an unmatched scene. So all of us going at the game, it's going to be such a close game. It could be us fans and how much energy we can give to our boys that puts it over the top. And that might be what the margin of victory is. So that's it. It's like, this is the final. We only get one final for 2023 now. And let's do our part as fans too.
Love it. See what you helped create with the magic sauce, Joseph. Do you have any final thoughts?
I'm going to piggyback off of those two. Let's be honest. We have a great opportunity to turn Columbus into a suburb of Los Angeles, ultimately. As we descend upon it, starting tomorrow, I already know people getting their flights on Wednesday. If we take this thing over, do it right, treat it like it's your own home, do everything you can to show how amazing our culture is. Of course, keep on the positive, get out there, get noisy, get crazy. Remind them of the mistake they made by putting us underneath a roof for this match in the upper deck. That's going to translate to a lot of extra sound. So let's use it. Let's use everything that they give us to the best of our advantage and make this a home game for our boys. Let them feel, if they close their eyes, let them feel like they're at BMO. That simple. Get home safe afterward, hopefully with a very lovely trophy with us on the way home, and get home in time for the parade. That's the plan. For everybody else that can't go there, know that you're with us in spirit. We're going to give everything we can, and we'll sing for you as best we can in the ground. Wish you were there with us, but we will put everything we can into it, knowing that if you could have been there, we know you would have been there. So love to all, and of course, stay golden.
Stay golden. Under a roof, I think that means we're going to be even easier to hear on the pitch, Joseph.
Amplified. Yep.
Darren, final thought.
I'll take this moment just to say thank you to all of you guys. We touched on it earlier, but another testament to how great the community has been is we're kind of the new kids on the block this season, and we were not just fans of the team, but fans of all of you guys and all of the great podcasts that are out there in the community. We were welcomed with open arms. Everyone's been so cool to us all year. It's been so fun to be a part of this, not just be part of the LAFC community, but part of this pod fam. So thank you for the inspiration, for bringing just great content to everybody and just making the cycle keep going. We realized how spoiled we were. We like to have like hosts of other teams' podcasts on our podcast sometimes to kind of like get inside info on other teams. And you have to you get to see what it's like how many other podcasts do these teams have. It's shocking sometimes. Some teams don't have any. Like maybe one, maybe two. Like this is amazing what we have here. We are very grateful to be a part of it. I've taken a bit of a backseat tonight just because I want to. So we're very happy to have you here and on our YouTube channel for whatever the fuck that means. But thank you to all of you, and I'm just so happy to be part of this to bring it to Columbus. We will be there. So if any of you guys are there in person, we'd love to say hey. everybody in the chat as well.
And for those who are there, just know that the hashtag LAFC weather forecast for this match is calling for
I'm so glad
temperatures
you do this. I was going to prompt you.
to be around 60 degrees at kickoff with scattered
Really?
showers. Yes. Temperatures will be around 60 degrees into the upper 50s. On Sunday, they will drop off a cliff over the course of the day. But during the game, it's going to be the warmest it's going to be for the entire next week with scattered showers. It's going to be perfect soccer weather.
Bringing the sunshine with us.
Well, we're bringing
Love
the
it.
warmth. We're not bringing any sunshine. It's going to be, don't get it twisted there, but we'll be under the roof, as Joseph noted. So we're not going to get rained on either. Good luck to those who are down closer to the pitch as they do, but it will be perfect soccer weather. My final thought here is I am so excited to be a part of this community. Y'all like just put out the call to the LAFC pod fam a couple days ago and said, hey, can we do this? And I was just reminded of how when we did this last year, I went from being mildly like excited, but mildly sort of curious about what the final was going to be like to being so nervous for the next several days because we just got into it and I just thought, oh my gosh, now I'm terrified. But it made the whole experience of the game so much more incredible and just a reminder of what all of this community is and what it represents. So I just want to close by saying to everyone here with us still, that's it for this super podcast MLS Cup Final preview. Thank you, Darren and Happyfoot Sadfoot, for hosting us. Thank you to Dolly Black and Gold, Defenders of the Bank, FCFC Pod, Heart of LAFC, Season Pass, Shoulder to Shoulder, Voices of the Black and Gold, for all you do for joining this one pod to rule them all. This has been an incredible reminder of the amazing and beautiful group of people that are part of this community, and it is going to be exciting to be with everyone this weekend to support the Black and Gold. I didn't ask the question, but who amongst the 8 here are going to Columbus? Wow. That's exciting. Yeah, we're going to be representing in Columbus. There is no doubt about that.
It's going to blackout Columbus.
Blackout Columbus. Whether you're going and many of us and those of you listening are, or you're going to be attending any of the numerous watch parties, be sure to revel in this moment. As Dweezy said, this is a very special moment for us. And I would just like to add, remember those of our family and friends who are no longer with us and raise a glass in their honor. And keep singing, keep dancing, and las buenas y malas to get our boys to victory. Because we celebrate the wins, we learn from the rest, and no matter what, this family remains and grows because of all of you. So we thank you. Darren, you want to close this out?
I'll just say everyone's down in the description. If you've noticed anybody here that you don't already follow or subscribe to, get it done. Expand your horizons, expand your knowledge. I don't know. I think we're done here.
I think we're done. Good night, everybody.
Hey, I love you. Bye.